Thanks so much for the introduction. Yeah, I was actually in that picture in 2019 in the room 3 years ago, and I was actually at that first meetup in Salesforce as well. So it's quite a trip being up here today. So hi everyone. So happy to be here today. So yeah, as Catherine said, I'm going to be talking about making the move from B2B to B2C product marketing. So I want to kick off with some expectation setting, set some intentions. So as Catherine said, I am the thing that's keeping all of you in this room from the lunch buffet that's being set up outside. So I really want to make the next 30 minutes worth your while. So it's my intention that you leave here today feeling enlightened about and educated about the growth that's happening within B2C product marketing. After you feel enlightened about this, I want you to feel excited about this growth, and maybe some people will go as far to consider B2C marketing as the next career move. And finally, I want you all to leave here more knowledgeable about what it takes to become, I guess, a master at both. Catherine really introduced me really properly as well, but yeah, there I am, nice to meet you. So I guess what gives me authority in this space is that I have done both, working at LinkedIn for 5.5 years on our advertising business in multiple functions, from general B2B marketing, account-based marketing, before moving into my dream role as a product marketer. And then earlier this year, January, I moved over to Flow to be a senior product marketing manager, one of the leads on their health suite of products. So for people who I guess who don't know what Flow is, maybe the non-menstruators in the room, it's the largest female health app. So it has products from period tracking, ovulation tracking, pregnancy tracking, so all a host of features and content around that. And there is it a little bit more in terms of what is actually the product does. So now that you know a little bit about me and what I do and where I've come from, let's move on to the content. So first off, what is all the fuss about B2C product marketing? So some of you might be kind of thinking, well, I didn't really realize there is hype or fuss about it. So I guess I've kind of given away the answer there, that yes, product marketing, B2C product marketing is indeed having a moment. So when I looked at the State of Product Marketing report between 2021 and 2022, that the PMA roll out every year, really, really valuable piece of research, I found that the percentage of product marketers that are building campaigns and marketing to consumers has increased threefold. So, we know that the numbers don't lie, and that 317.5% year-on-year growth is pretty staggering. So, yes, product marketing is having its moment in the sun. So, there's lots of possible explanations, and there's, it's most likely that it's a combination of all of these things. So, the possible explanations is, firstly, that more organizations are seeing the value of product marketing and want in on the action. And they were opening, well, certainly prior to maybe the downturn that we've experienced this year, they're opening up more and more roles within their organizations for product marketers. Secondly, more and more PMMs like myself becoming intrigued and excited about the prospect of working for some of their favorite brands or some of their friends and family's favorite brands. So there's that demand side traction as well. And lastly, another possible explanation is that more and more people maybe are taking the State of PMM survey every year, and that net's just been cast wider. So yeah, PMA will be able to speak to that a lot more than I will. So I'm going to be focusing on those top two. So why are companies excited, and why are us as product marketers excited as well? So yeah. Of course, so why is it so attractive to B2C companies? Apart from stating the obvious of product marketers being the most talented marketers of all, there are definitely several other factors driving the change. First off, there's insurmountable evidence that customer-centric businesses just perform better. So advocating for the needs of users in the rooms where product decisions are being made is essentially or should be the basic instinct of any good PMM. So it makes sense that for businesses that are trying to, I guess, improve the bottom line, that they are looking towards investing in these more customer-centric roles. And also thanks to the work of organisations such as the Product Marketing Alliance and kind of influencers in the product marketing space, the profile of the product marketer and the value that they drive is becoming more and more known to organisations. So of course, why wouldn't they want us? So secondly, you don't need me to remind you all that the last few years have been challenging, to say the least. Within, I guess, a 2-year period, we've experienced a pandemic, wars breaking out, the start of a global recession. So, yeah, it's a lot. But how many, I guess, times have you heard or used the expression that product marketers wear many hats? Yeah, I'm seeing nodding. It makes, I'll keep going with this point, so thank you. This expression is often used when trying to define the role of a PMM, when you're trying to explain to a colleague what it is that you do. And we know that sometimes that can be annoying or a bit of a frustration. But what these turbulent times have really shown us and how businesses have been affected by it is that, unfortunately, these different dynamics have forced a lot of organisations to put limits on their headcount. So with this happening, it means that businesses need less people, but essentially people who have a breadth of skills, who can do more, essentially. So that's where I guess the product marketer comes in, because we wear so many hats and because we are well renowned for being able to flex to where the business needs us most. That's where I guess it's a product marketer provides that bang for the company's buck. I think Ami, who is I worked with at LinkedIn, puts it really, really well, in the sense that product marketers are becoming renowned for their abilities to deal with ambiguity and be reactive to business needs. So my next point. So tech sales are booming, and which we can see here between 2020, 2022, they're still on the rise. Consumer tech sales, and as well, every company is essentially becoming a tech company. And why I say this is because product marketing is often synonymous with the tech industry. I know that you can be a product marketer and not maybe necessarily work in tech, but I think most people up on stage today were definitely in the tech space. So, for that reason, I guess, the PMM and the tech industry do go hand in hand. And why this, I guess, matters is because the continued implications of this growth means that there's more consumer choice than ever, and consumers have more buying power than ever before. So there are a certain set of skills that are needed to match these dynamics within the market, be that having the skills of positioning your product as the best or as different, and then having the messaging to match. And then from the other side, I guess, of more and more tech companies, or more and more businesses becoming tech companies, we see a huge amount of businesses going through digital transformation, and maybe they are repositioning themselves completely. So they need those PMMs in there for that repositioning work, to bring that to life with messaging, and then to drive those go-to-markets for these new digital products and solutions that they're bringing to market. Really like this point that I was chatting to Laura recently at Depop, in that it's becoming more and more difficult to stand out in the D2C, another way, I guess, of saying the consumer space. Branding is becoming, more and more homogenous, you might say. If you look at the apps, icons on your phone, sometimes it feels that they blend into one a little bit. So having those individuals internally who are experts in driving points of differentiation for a product is becoming so important. So yeah, we've talked about why businesses are wanting in on product marketing, but I guess what about us? Why are we excited about making moves in product marketing for consumer brands? So first off, when talking to some more PMMs in the space, it's this idea of being close to the product that they're marketing. So working on a B2C product, I guess, allows you to achieve that more of an intimate or emotional connection to the end user, because that you are often the end user, or it's your friends, or it's your family. Most product marketers, I know anyway, are super empaths. So that attraction to marketing a product that you are a user of yourself is really exciting in terms of the the messaging that you want to create and the go-to-markets that you want to create. I really resonate with this point that Tatiana from Delivery makes around the relatability factor of, like, you don't need to be a PMM. Everyone knows that we can all relate to consumer products. We've all had a really bad, we've all seen a really bad user experience. We've all had bad customer service where we've been on the phone for like 3 hours to, a call center trying to get a 2-second answer, misleading tool. So I guess it's like, that's where that attraction comes from for a PMM, because we want to just get our hands in there and make it better. On a tangential point, so is quite very much related to that previous point around, there's this huge attraction of the opportunity to work on a product that aligns with your personal values. This is being driven by several different factors. So number one, I guess, the move towards work-life blending, which was driven through the pandemic, in that, like, a lot of us work from home. Our home lives and work lives are so enmeshed in one another that, I think that there is this desire that we have that greater alignment between what we're working with and working for. So as well as that, another factor, I guess, driving this alignment in terms of your values and where you work is Gen Z entering the workforce. So 49% of, I think they're called centennials, makes me sound really out of touch, would not accept a job at a company that doesn't align with their own values. So, Gen Z are now entering the workforce, and their voice is becoming loud in that space. So this is, I guess, that, I think hiring managers like Laura are kind of seeing that more and more when interviewing and recruiting candidates. And finally, the allure of product-led growth. So yeah, 3 of the hottest words, I think, of the last kind of couple of years. Product-led growth is by no means exclusive to B2C brands by any means. But from my own experience, it's something that I have seen more clearly demonstrated maybe in the B2C space. And what I mean by that is that, like, big caveat, I loved working with my sales team, and I, very much, enjoyed that and missed that part of my job at LinkedIn. But it has been nice working in an environment where I have more of a direct line to the end user. As a product marketer in B2B, sometimes because a lot of the focus is around growing value per user, or maybe more of an account-based marketing approach, there can be sometimes a feeling that product decisions can be made based on, a few kind of maybe demanding customers, rather than that of something that's maybe going to be in the best interest of all users, because of the fact that product-led growth is more about growing number of users. So yeah, I think that for me, that was quite exciting to get more experience in that product-led growth space, because I did work in a sales-led growth company for such a long time. So yeah, just about expanding horizons and skills there, really. So yeah, I'm in the B2C product marketing world around almost 12 months now. So definitely have some learnings to share for anyone else maybe considering the move. So first of all, that B2B and B2C PMMs, they're sisters, not twins. So realistically, between these two disciplines, there is only one letter in the difference, which is why I'd like to refer to them as this. They are part of the one family, but they have their own unique quirks. At the end of the day, we are all marketing to humans. So, but yeah, I guess the core differences that exist between the two can be related to tone of voice, So in B2C, you're often maybe speaking with the tone is a bit more casual, a bit more conversational, maybe than in B2B. Your channel mix is often quite different in the sense that B2C is a lot more maybe in-app driven or socially driven, like things on like using TikTok and Instagram, of course, whereas B2B events are huge, thought leadership. So yeah, a few, those kind of channel mixes can be quite different. The pace as well, because I guess B2B has traditionally quite long sales cycles that can trickle down into other parts of the organization, including marketing. So with B2C, sometimes you don't, the pace is quite quick, and you have to I very much had to learn to keep up with that pace after being in B2B for so long. But in essence, it's quite a pale Venn diagram, but there is a Venn diagram there. And I think product marketers love a Venn diagram. So this kind of demonstrates the skills that I believe you need, I guess, to be successful in both. And as you can see, the lion's share of those skills are smack bang in the middle. So if you are a B2B marketer or if you are a B2C marketer, it's my very, very staunch belief that, if you have that central, those like shared skills that run down the center of that diagram, you can make it, you can tackle both domains. So next, what can be, in terms of my learnings, there can be a lot of education needed about what product marketing is and it isn't. And I know from experience this is not unique to B2C at all. But I think because we're, like I showed in that earlier slide, there's a huge amount of growth happening in B2C product marketing. And because of this, a lot of PMMs or consumer PMMs are establishing the function within their respective businesses. So which is always going to have to come with some education and some kind of teething issues there. So, you might feel a little bit like this or this or this, I think we've all experienced that at some time or another. So yeah, my biggest piece of advice is that, especially in those first few months, to continue to sit down with, if you work with a PM or your other cross-functional partners, just kind of keep reiterating what it is that you the value that you bring, and also sharing, especially if you're establishing a new function, there can be a little bit of a fear of, okay, who's this person? Are they coming in? Are they going to be taking parts of my job? I used to own the messaging for my product. People can get their backs up a little bit. So I think it's about kind of entering and maybe on a little bit more of a ramp and saying that, I'm here to help you. And, it just takes a little bit of patience, but you'll get there in the end. Another approach that I think works quite well, I think it was mentioned on the panel earlier, is try to show instead of tell. And what I mean by that is, PMM, as we know, can be quite difficult to maybe explain to someone in a few minutes conversation. That's why we have 2-day-long conferences like this. But what I would say is that, things like having quarterly all-hands is where you show the outputs of your work from the previous quarter. So it might be something like showing how you got to a go-to-market strategy, or all the work that went into a positioning statement. So that kind of iceberg analogy. So showing people the kind of disgusting analogy of how the sausage is made can be really effective in showing, educating people how you spend your time and how you kind of are effective. And my last, learning is that there is so much scope to define the role of PMM in B2B and B2C organizations. So as I said before, a lot of brands are hiring their first PMMs, and they're building out these teams from scratch. So this, of course, can be very, very daunting. For me, I came from a place that had a long-established PMM function. So, there wasn't maybe as much structure there as, maybe I hadn't really thought about it, I guess. And it's also, safe to say that B2C is isn't maybe as mature as B2B product marketing, in that there aren't as many, resources, guidebooks, best practices. There is a little bit more figuring it out as you go. I know that'll continue. All of those resources that'll continue to grow. like that's just a hint to PMA maybe, or other stuff. But I guess, a lot of the playbook is similar, but there are certain quirks. But my best piece of advice would be to kind of, take this as a massive opportunity to write that script yourself. Like some of the work that I've enjoyed most at Flow has been working with my fellow PMMs to define things like launch tier frameworks, to define things like what a minimum marketable product looks like at our organization. So it is great to be able to be kind of part of like writing that history for B2C PMM. So I would really encourage people who are in the same space to do the same, and please share your frameworks around with everyone on the Slack channel. So before I wrap up, I think I'm like hearing like audible tummy rumbling. What does it take to be a master of both domains? And for me, the answer is range. So this is a book that I read earlier in the year by David Epstein. He doesn't talk about PMMs, of course, specifically in the book, but I think that this, his thesis statement per se is applicable to ourselves as well, and that we can create or be more creative by accumulating experience in different domains. And when I heard the different experiences of the people on the panel earlier, I think that really drives that point home of they all came from like different backgrounds, different careers before they entered into product marketing as a career, and look how well that's gone for them. But the book, really highly recommend, draws comparisons from the world of sport, business, science, chess, like everything, to talk about how, being a generalist, is more attractive maybe at times than being hyper specialist. So in true, product marketing style, I have one message, but I'm going to tailor it to maybe two different audiences. So for the individual contributors in the room who are maybe not at the stage of hiring talent, what I would say to you is that based on my own experience, it can be really easy, I guess, to stay in your lane and to keep progressing in whatever specialty that you find yourself in increments. But I really want you to, consider this idea of the squiggly career, which is a book really good book as well, I would recommend, from Helen Tupper and Sarah Ellis, which basically debunks the whole idea of the career ladder and talks about this idea of moving fluidly between industries, countries, careers, just in generally. Unlocks more opportunity, freedom, and purpose in your career and in your life in general. So not only will your life be more interesting, it's like you become automatically a more interesting candidate when you are kind of going for roles. So when you look just at like PMM, these are this is just like a overview of some of the different types of PMMs you can be within different organizations. I've been a B2B, B2C, global, regional, but these are all different just experiences that you can get just as a PMM, not alone if you think about, trying your hand at sales or product management or a completely different career. Just kind of something to consider in terms of trying to think about your career more broadly in terms of range. And for hiring managers in the room, what I would say is that instead of thinking about how a candidate matches or fits to a job, think about what they add to a job. Think about the experiences or range of experiences that they have that maybe you don't have or people on your team don't have. So my team at Flow, I think I was the only one with, say, a B2B background. I'd never worked in, say, a subscription product before, and other people on the team had, but I know that I brought, say, maybe certain skills myself. So I guess it's keep your job specs broad and to allow for that range. And the evidence that diverse teams are better teams is insurmountable and too compelling to ignore. As we've seen all too well, the world is far too unpredictable, and you need the talent that is proven that they have range and that they can flex. So contrary to popular belief, I believe it's better to be a jack of all trades than a master of one. So with that, I want to thank you very, very much, welcome your questions, and yeah, thank you for your attention.
Thanks so much, Kelly. It was really interesting to hear about the spike of B2C product marketers. I'm not sure that many of us in the room are aware of that. Maybe just to get the question started, who here is in B2C product marketing? Okay, and B2B, the rest of the gang?
Yeah.
Yep, I know. All right, cool. Well, hopefully we're going to learn a little bit more about this transition. The top question here is specifically about moving from one to the other. How hard is it to transition from a B2B to B2C PMM role? Do employers overlook or have reservations about hiring B2B product managers?
I guess it does depend on the hiring manager and their particular mindset. I guess when it's possibly easier moving to an organization that's building out their PMM function because they might be a little bit more open or unsure of like what exactly they're looking for, as opposed to when you have maybe a more staffed PMM function. You know, I guess you maybe laser in of like, okay, I'm missing someone who's more analytical or more like whatever they're looking for in that role. So I think for me, like I was one of the first product marketers to join Flow. So I think that kind of stood me in good stead. And because I had, several years of PMM experience, it in like a large organization as well. So I was able to, I guess the way I positioned myself was that I was going to be able to bring like that PMM structure and help those and bring those frameworks over to a company that was establishing the function. So I think even if you haven't maybe done the job, it's like being able to say like what you can bring from that previous experience, like anything, I guess. But that was what I think worked maybe in my experience.
Yes, yeah, that makes sense. I think the second question is actually really closely related to that. Do you think your experience at LinkedIn, which we all know is a wonderful, well-known brand, helped you get your B2C role? Do you have any tips for people who are in less-known companies?
I think so. LinkedIn's a brilliant brand, so I'm sure that it helps, I guess, having that familiarity, and especially and that it is a successful organization as well. So I think it helped me in the sense that, because I got that, maybe it's less about having the logo, but it's more of like I had that experience from LinkedIn. And for tips for people in less known companies, the best piece of advice I guess I give to people who are, trying to, I guess, maybe move into more established companies is to just to frame your experience a certain way. So I like to kind of use the idea, like when I'm talking about my experience, I like to break it out into what my responsibilities were and then what was my impact within those responsibilities. So I just think that no matter what size your company is, you should be able, if you've demonstrated those strong results, like what's to say you can't do that somewhere else. So yeah, I think that hiring, any good hiring manager will be able to see through a logo and be like, okay, but is she or he hiding behind this logo, or does do they actually have the substance there? So
nice, makes sense. And let's do one last question.
Yeah.
Would you recommend using some B2C frameworks in the B2B space?
Yeah, definitely. Because again, I think it's very transferable that way because you are marketing to like people at the end. It's like it is, even though B2C is very user focused, user driven, whereas B2B can be a bit more about that buying committee. You're still talking to each and every single one of those people. So yeah, I think that the two are extremely interchangeable, especially things like I would use the same message, the process in terms of developing messaging and positioning in either or. So try it out, see what happens.
Awesome. Okay, thank you so much, Kelly. Let's give her a big round of applause.